What if I told you that in 1990, Major League Baseball uncovered evidence of organized crime infiltrating the New York Yankees clubhouse? All-star players gambling on their own games, and death threats fabricated for publicity stunts, and then covered it all up. This is the story they tried to sweep under home plate.
Steinbrenner era in Yankee history is in fact pretty much over tonight following baseball's investigation of his involvement with known gambling.
It started simple. George Steinbrenner, the Yankees owner everyone loved to hate, paid $40,000 to a small-time gambler named Howard Spira. MLB launched what they called a very careful, very scrupulous investigation.
Commissioner Fay Vincent announced the findings of a 2-month investigation during a news conference this evening in New York City.
This sad episode is now over. My decision in this case and this result will serve, I trust, to vindicate once again the important responsibility of the Commissioner to preserve and protect our noble game.
Steinbrenner was banned for life. Case closed, right? But that's not what really happened. It's actually something so sinister you'd think it was a fictional script and not the reality of our beloved Yankees. Howard Spira wasn't just any gambler. He was a degenerate who owed over $1 million to bookmakers. He had connections to the Colombo and Genovese crime families. And for 3 years in the early 1980s, he was a regular in the New York Yankees clubhouse. Think about that. $1 million debtor to the mob hanging out with Yankees players every single day? And now it gets a bit crazier. MLB knew all of this in 1987. 3 years before their so-called investigation, and they did absolutely nothing. Because what investigators discovered next was so explosive it could have destroyed baseball forever. Joseph Caridi, Colombo crime family, in charge of their gambling operations from 1983 to 1985. And according to FBI sources, Caridi had a special interest in one particular gambler, Howard Spira. Why? Because Spira was his direct line into the New York Yankees. Picture this scene, Manhattan, 1984. Spira owes Caridi $57,100. They're riding in Caridi's limousine. Spira pulls out a baseball signed. To Anthony from Dave Winfield. That's Caridi's son. Then glossy photos, same signature. Caridi tosses them aside. I want my money. I'm a little short, Spira says. I can get you the 100, but I can't get you the 57,000. So Caridi grabs Spira by the shirt, lifts him up through the sunroof, and partially closes it, leaving Spira's head sticking out of a moving car. I know it sounds like a movie, but this actually happened, and MLB had evidence of it. But the mob connection was just the beginning, because what came next exposed something even worse. Active players gambling on games. Dave Winfield, Hall of Famer, Yankees superstar.
Winfield skipped the minor leagues and joined the Padres immediately. As an athlete, he was in high demand by everyone, having been drafted by all 3 major sports.
His statistics are impressive, up among the league leaders in a large number of offensive categories. How about those stats, Dave?
21 home runs, 70 RBI. I just feel very good. I've matured as a ball player. I'm glad people are recognizing it, and I feel good within myself. I'm becoming the ball player I wanted to be.
As good as Dave is now, there's no telling just how good a ball player he may become. Dave could be the best all-around athlete in the game today.
According to multiple witnesses, Winfield was regularly discussing his own sports bets with Spira. Not just any sports, baseball games, including Yankees games. Kim Slomka, secretary at Winfield's foundation, told investigators. Froman would complain to Witten and Spira about how much money he and Dave lost. But it gets worse. Lou Piniella, Yankees player, now a manager. According to Spira's sworn testimony to MLB, Piniella would get the daily news every morning, go over football games with Spira in the clubhouse, then walk 10 feet to a payphone and call his bookie. This is a Yankees player calling bookies from Yankee Stadium. And MLB knew about this in 1989, 14 months before they bothered to ask Piniella a single question. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared investigators for what they found next. October 1981, World Series. Dave Winfield receives a death threat so serious that the FBI gets involved. It becomes national news. Winfield's terrible performance, 1 hit in 22 at-bats, is blamed on the psychological pressure.
But his Yankees now have the worst record in baseball. They're hitting and fielding so shoddy that they lose even when their pitcher pitches a no-hitter.
Except the death threat was completely fake, written by Winfield's own agent, Al Froman, to give Winfield an excuse for choking in the World Series. As Winfield knew it was fake the entire time. Kim Slomka, the foundation secretary, admitted she helped write the fake threat. Quote, "When Winfield learned of the fabrication, he was angry at Froman, but he subsequently went along with it." So Winfield lied to the FBI. He lied to the media. He lied to millions of fans about a death threat in the World Series. The most famous death threat in sports history never happened. Now, here's where the story goes from shocking to absolutely infuriating. MLB had all this evidence, organized crime connections, active gambling by players, fabricated death threats, federal crimes, and they covered it all up. Peter Uberoff, commissioner from 1984 to 1989, was told about the mob connections in 1987. His response, quote, "There was nothing to Steinbrenner's allegations that he could see, no substance, and so we let the matter drop." He didn't ask for details. He didn't want to know why the evidence wasn't credible. Quote, "It's not credible. I don't need to know why it's not credible." Kevin Hallinan, MLB's security director, received documents proving Spira's mob connections in September 1987. He never wrote a memo about the meeting until 1989. He never investigated who Joey Caridi was, even though the name was right there in the documents. They had the smoking gun and threw it in the trash. But here's the most disgusting part of all. George Steinbrenner was banned from baseball for paying a gambler $40,000.
Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent to suspend or even expel Steinbrenner. Yankee fans are cheering against the owner.
Obviously a crook and a thief. I hope Vincent has the nerve to just tell him you can't own the Yankees anymore.
Dave Winfield lent the same gambler $15,000, knowing he would use it to pay off gambling debts to the mob. Winfield was never even questioned.
His vendetta against former Yankee Dave Winfield, involving sizable payments to gambler Howard Spira, allegedly for information to discredit Winfield, has triggered an investigation.
Lou Piniella allegedly called bookies from Yankee Stadium. MLB's investigation of Piniella, they asked him if he knew Spira. He said no. Case closed. Players with direct mob connections through gambling debts never interviewed. Witnesses who could prove active gambling by players never contacted. FBI sources offering information about organized crime infiltration ignored. This wasn't an investigation. This was a hit job on the one owner everyone already hated, while protecting everyone else. And the man leading this so-called investigation, John Dowd, the same John Dowd who later investigated Pete Rose. Dowd made secret deals with Howard Spira, the same gambler at the center of the scandal, trading legal help for evidence against Steinbrenner. Dowd altered sworn testimony 268 times without telling Steinbrenner's lawyers. And these were not typos. Complete rewrites of what witnesses actually said under oath. Dowd told witnesses that Steinbrenner didn't belong in baseball, months before the investigation was complete. This is the man baseball trusted to find the truth, and he was more corrupt than anyone he was investigating. But here's the evidence that proves this was all a cover-up. In 1986, the FBI offered Howard Spira $100,000 and witness protection to testify against organized crime figures. The FBI, the actual FBI, thought Spira was credible enough to use as a federal witness against the mob. But MLB, they said he was a liar who couldn't be trusted. The same man the FBI wanted to use to take down the mafia, MLB dismissed as unreliable, even though everything he said about Steinbrenner turned out to be true. Why would they believe him about Steinbrenner, but not about Winfield? About Piniella? About the mob connections? Because they only wanted to find what they were looking for. The truth is, Major League Baseball in the 1980s was infiltrated by organized crime. Players were gambling on games. Death threats were being fabricated. And when investigators uncovered all of this, they chose to protect the institution instead of cleaning it up. George Steinbrenner was guilty of paying a gambler, but he was also the fall guy for a scandal that went much deeper than anyone wanted to admit. And the most terrifying part, if this is what they covered up in 1990, what are they covering up today? Because as Commissioner Fay Vincent said in his own words, "I'm not trying to find every person in baseball who has done something illegal. Maybe it's time someone did."